What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 6 of the More You Know podcast. I'm here with Christian, my
What's up,
boy,
guys? What's
and
up, guys?
our guest today is Professor Shore, one of my professors.
Hey
Wanna,
guys, good to see you.
how are you today?
I'm awesome. Glad to be on with you. This is
Nice.
a new experience for me.
That's you know, I thought you were a very interesting person. That's why I invited you. Well, me and Christian invited you. Today we're
Yeah.
gonna be talking about human behavior, human nature. What else? What else do you guys want to add?
Um,
I can talk a little bit about relationships and how to
Relationships.
have good and healthy relationships if
Hmm.
you want.
Okay. Yeah, basically we're gonna be talking about that. So hope you guys are interested. If you guys aren't interested, give it a thumbs up. If you're new, subscribe. Let's get on with it. So, first question of the podcast, right? I'm about to get serious with this. Professor Shore, what was
You
the
got it.
craziest counseling you've ever been to? I mean, off the
The
rails.
cra- the craziest counseling. Well, I can tell you a story about one couple that I was counseling. Uh, this was very early in my counseling experience, and the wife complaining about her husband that he did stuff for everybody else and didn't do anything for
Okay.
her. And we we met for several weeks, and I gave him this book to read. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I don't know if you've, but it's a book that talks about how men and women are different
Hmm.
and how they have languages and how they communicate differently. And those sessions were going okay until one session she walked into the office and
Oh.
she was really mad, and she said, he only does what you tell him to do. He doesn't do anything on his own. And then she hauled back, and she was really tall, very large woman. She hauled back on the book and threw it at me across the room. I was sitting in a swivel chair, and the book came by me, and I swiveled to the side and hit the wall behind me. Um, I would say that was one of the most exciting uh, counseling sessions I had. I've had some serious ones that were difficult. I had another one with a young man and his fiance who wanted me to marry them because I'm a minister as well, and I do weddings. And after talking with this couple for a while, I asked the guy, I said, tell me something. He was 25 years old, already graduated from college, a little bit younger. I said, tell me something. Where do you live? He said, well, I live at home. I said, who cooks your meals? He said, well, my mom cooks my meals. I said, well, who does your laundry? He said, well, my mother does my laundry. I said, who buys your clothes? He said, my mother buys my clothes. I
Red
said,
flag.
oh, that's a
who
red
buys
flag.
your underwear? And he said, my mother buys your underwear. And I turned to her and I said, look, mother for the rest of your life. And they got up and left, and that was the last time I saw him. So that,
Wait, how old was
Horrifying.
he?
he was 25 years,
He just graduated from
Wow.
college. That's
and
Mm,
his mother
insane.
was doing. In fact, his mother even balances his checkbook for him,
That's insane.
paid all his
wow.
bills.
That's insane.
So
Wow.
And from like
I
a
guess
world that we come from, that's very different to what we see. Because we're taught to manage on our own, to handle these responsibilities, and we learn from the hard lessons that are brought onto us. Because either way, we're gonna have to face it, and if we
oh
don't
yeah,
face it, it's gonna hit you. It's gonna hit you hard, and you're gonna have to get up from that. But this guy, he straight up just lets other people handle his own business, or
well,
his
and
mom.
it was I was living in Lakeland, Florida, and it was kind of a southern thing,
Hmm.
where mom does everything. I mean, we had that experience. We've been in Florida most of our lives, and we've had a lot of kids in our home, and I can remember my wife telling my youngest daughter and her friend, they were 10 or 11 years old, to go, that it's time for lunch, go ahead and make lunch, right? Because
Yeah.
we raised our kids that way. They learned how to make food and do wash clothes and everything. And the little girl my wife, and my wife said, "You probably never made a sandwich, have you?" She said, "No, I've never made a sandwich in my life." She was 10 years old. So our kids were raised learning how to do that. When they were 7, 8 years old, they could clean the house. They learned how to cook food. They learned how to do eventually laundry rooms and stuff because we felt like we had a responsibility to prepare them.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like your parents did in the environment that you're living in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's insane. That's actually crazy. So you said you never seen him. You never saw him again.
Oh no, I never saw that couple again. Mm-mm.
What are the odds that
Okay.
he's still living with his mother?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to predict that marriage might not have gone well. Might have gone well.
I mean, it was a lesson for him though. If it didn't go
I'm not
well.
sure he was into learning a lesson. Really, he just wanted to get married. And the other part of it is, I don't just marry people when I do weddings. I do premarital counseling with them. I use an assessment called Prepare and Rich
Mm.
that looks at 7 areas of relationships, and we talk about your strengths and your weaknesses in your relationship. And I've probably done 250, 300 weddings, and most of them are still married because we spent the time to do the hard work. So if you do the hard work, you can have a successful marriage. You know how to spell love, right?
Yes.
You remember that from class?
Um, I have
How
a
do you
vague
spell
memory,
love?
but isn't it spelled? He's gonna fail me. Watch. I remember it. It's um like repetition, perseverance, something like that.
I'll
Like you
tell you
have to
what. Well,
be
those are good words.
consistent.
I
Consistent.
I spell love. I spell love commitment.
Commitment. Commitment.
That's
That's
how
what I
you
was looking.
spell love.
Okay.
COM. However, commitment is spelled,
Hmm.
and that's a really good lesson to learn because when you are trying to have a relationship that's healthy with somebody, commitment is absolutely essential to that relationship because you are going to have a hard time. There's nothing easy about having relationships. So you have to
That's
be
right.
willing to commit to another person, not just if it works out, but to commit to that person and to spend time working things out. And counseling, that's what can learn. It's more difficult too when the couples are young. So the younger couples that I've married didn't last very long. If I married a couple that was 17 or 18 years old, they really have a difficult time because you change so much, you
Hmm.
know.
Was that the
Mm.
youngest you counseled?
That was the youngest that I've done premarital counseling. I mean, I've done counseling outside of that for families.
Hmm.
Um, I've counseled 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. Um, I counseled a young boy one time who uh, walked. His brother was struggling, but it seemed like everything was okay. And he went into his brother's red bedroom, and his brother gave him his varsity jacket and some other things, a hockey jersey. And then, as this little guy left the room, his brother took and committed suicide.
Wow.
So I had
Damn.
to do counseling with this little guy, and he described his depression. And this was shortly after it happened, that he was in like a big deep hole, and he was trying to dig out of that hole. And he eventually dug out of that hole. We met a number of times, and he struggled, but he worked through it. And I, you know, as a minister, you go sometimes from church to church, but over the years, I've heard from that family periodically that he did fine, that he pulled out of it. So it's all good.
That was a good ending. That was a good ending.
Yeah.
Not so well. So one question I have is, like you said, commitment. Do you see a lot of commitment in like our generation or less?
What I hear from your generation in terms of commitment is I'll commit unless something better comes along. That's what
Hmm.
I hear a lot.
So like options.
Yeah,
You have a lot of
everybody's
options.
yeah, everybody's keeping their options open, and that's true in various areas of life. that's really unhealthy in terms of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I think um, when you're younger, you really shouldn't the commitments that you make and just kind of hang out with people before you make relationships. We kind of get the sex thing mixed up into that,
Mm-hmm.
and we do the sex deal, and that complicates relationships. Instead of building friendships and stuff like that, we go and the sexual encounter is pretty intimate. In fact, it's very intimate, and it does a lot of damage um, to any relationship and your ability to form healthy relationships.
Yeah, yeah. It's we get attached to a lot of people, or we at first we get attached to one person, and then if we don't like that person, or we say we don't like that person, and then we go on to other people, but we still have, we're still connected to that first person that we sought out at first. But once you get with a lot of people, it really messes you up. It's a lot of psychological damage, and that's a whole nother podcast. But it really digs deep into how people are raised up, right?
All right.
If family didn't teach them right, or as there's also another topic when there's only one parent in the household, a mother or a father,
Correct.
right? If there's only a father, then the child doesn't have the other side where it's loving and caring, or most of the time, a lot of fathers can be loving and caring, and then also on the mother side, if there's no father figure, then the kid grows up in the opinion of the mother. I'm just trying to articulate the word so I don't get canceled. So when there's no father figure, the child doesn't. How do I say? Doesn't
The child doesn't know how to like hold himself up.
Yeah,
When he
basically like
when he
that.
grow when he grows up and becomes a man, he's not sure like how to be responsible, or he's not sure exactly what he's looking for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really accurate. In psychology, the concept of attachment is really key. Attachment begins at infancy, and it's important for the parents to be there. In the case of single mom or single dad, it's important for extended family to be
Yeah.
part because little ones, infants, attach through their senses, their primary senses through smell and touch
Hmm.
and sound, and having that healthy attachment in infancy, that allows you to be more secure when you're growing up because you are attached to another human in a close, intimate way, and it gives you security. And you've heard me say in class that your parents' relationship is really crucial to your self-esteem.
Mm.
And so, Christian, you're absolutely right. If you don't have the model of a mom and dad, or if you don't have the model of two parents, then it is difficult to know what you want to do or
Yeah.
how you want to behave or act when you become a young and when you begin to get those responsibilities. That's where grandpas and uncles, and
Yeah.
aunts and grandma,
You get to see a lot of
and
perspectives from the family.
yeah, good respect. Sometimes it can be a professor at school, teacher at school. Sometimes it can be a minister or pastor or some other leader in the community,
Hmm.
that does mentoring and stuff. And I think more of that is needed because all of us have have a difficulty. I know in my family, my father was gone a lot because he was a Marine,
Hmm.
and I really was much closer to my mom. And my father's deceased, but even now, she's 90 years old, and I'm close to her. I learned a lot about how to live. I'm used to that strong, female presence there, most definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. And when a child lives with one person, or just the same group, or like the same minded group for a very long time, then they only think one way, right? They only see the world in one view.
Right.
And once they go out, college or jobs or careers, they really get to see the other perspectives that that have been hidden from them. I mean, sometimes they get messed up, right? They say there's a lot of choices, there's a lot of options, and they've been for their whole life they've been only thinking one way, which
But if you're grounded, it's possible to be 18 or 19 years old and really be grounded as an individual,
yeah,
to have an idea of who you are and to stay true to you and to who you are,
hmm
and then that can help you make decisions that are really, really effective.
yeah,
It just depends on where you get your values and your morals from, and then staying true to those.
yeah. Because when you're young, the biggest influence has to be school, because your parents say one thing, and then you go to school, and then there's a bunch of not lies, but more perspectives thrown at you, and you go home thinking or wondering, is this true? I want to act like this. I want to dress like
Right.
this, do this, because there's a majority of the group or majority of population that dress or acts like that, and it either can be good or bad. But mostly bad because that same group is there. It's like a domino effect. One person follows the other, and the other person follows another, right? And nowadays there isn't really a space of creativity because everyone's like you said. I think we talked about this in class, but you said a a person that's a leader and a person that's a follower.
Right.
So one of the like infos I would add would be most people don't want to be a leader because following, of course, is easy, and also following, it's um, they don't know anything else. It's like as a child that's been only taught one way, they don't know anything else to stand up for themselves or do something else, and they also don't want to do something else because they might be wrong or they think they might be wrong, and they might be
Sure.
judged by the followers. But yeah, that's just what I'm getting. That's how I think about
Oh yeah.
majority.
Yeah. That, that's it. It's good, and it's good to know that. And I don't think today that people have conversations like this. I don't think they listen to each other very much
Hmm.
because we all have a lot to contribute to each other. If we just listen and we don't make assumptions, about the people that we're talking to, we just listen to them.
Hmm.
Um, I have found, um, in my experience, that we're all way more similar than we think, you
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
really, really, really are. And what shapes what we think about each other a lot is the media, television, that kind of stuff. We get stereotypes and we get
Yeah.
pictures of each other.
Yeah.
Um,
It's there's a lot of diversity. They
Yeah.
push a lot of diversity, and nowadays I don't know if you've seen it, but the only reason most people don't want to, stand up and raise their hand is because they're just programmed to believe that they're a lot more different than others, and what they
right.
say might be thought of as bad, or how Twitter get cancels people that just say their opinion just like that. So there's a lot of diversity that's been separating us for a very long time. For it started at politics, religion being the main one, and then it started getting smaller and smaller, categorizing everybody.
Yeah, I had an interesting experience when I was going to UNF. I graduated uh, with my doctorate when I was 65 years old. So if you're listening, I'm really old. Okay, I'm way older than 65. And and UNF had this uh, forum that was all about diversity. And I've learned that diversity is kind of a one-way street. Most people say you have to accept them,
Yeah.
but they don't feel like they have to accept you, right?
Hmm.
But to me, diversity has to be a two-way street. Well, in this forum, when it started, the young lady that was leading the forum was in the student government at UNF, and my wife an advisor for student government. And so I just kind of came and sat in the audience. And when she started leading the forum, which was to discuss different viewpoints and perspectives, a couple guys walked in wearing MAGA hats, and T-shirts, about Trump and everything. They started heckling. Um, they started heckling the people that were in this rally, trying to drown out what anybody was saying. And there are all kinds of different folks that were represented in there. The girl did a great job, this young woman, of moderating and controlling, and it was all adversarial until she got one of the MAGA guys to tell his story. And he started talking about how he was raised by his mom, that his dad wasn't there, and how they were living in a trailer, and living in poverty, and how he felt all alone and he felt judged, and all of a sudden, all the other folks in this, I'll call it the circle, because I think in life we learn from the circle. We learn sitting around and seeing each other face to face and having these conversations.
Yeah,
So she
yeah,
did a marvelous job of getting everybody to talk and share their stories, and come to find out that the politics was just a coat to disguise the pain that
Yeah.
this young man was feeling. And then other people took off their coats, whatever their coat was, whatever their political view was, or their sexuality view was, or whatever. They kind of took off their coats, I'm using a metaphor. And then they started talking and found out that they were all experiencing similar things and struggling because of their age, where they were in life. Most of the kids that were sitting there came from parent homes, and there were all kinds of different nationalities, ethnicities. Just a really good conversation.
Yeah.
Once the coats came off, the red hats came off, right, and
Hmm.
conversations started happening.
Yeah. So that
yeah.
really destroyed the boundaries, and they all felt like leaders at that moment and
Yeah,
stopped being
ab-
followers.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've heard me say that for me, I had to learn um, ideas or thoughts really drove me and made me make decisions. So
Hmm.
one of the things that I'm driven by, that this experience helped to influence, that all people are created in the image of God, and that all humans are deserving of being treated with dignity and
Hmm.
respect. All of them need love. They all need acceptance. They all need forgiveness. So I try to function that way in whatever role I'm in, whether it's as a coach or a mentor or a preacher or a teacher or a husband or a dad, or whatever role I'm in, that has to be foremost. And it's difficult because some people are unlovable.
Hmm.
they they don't know they're created in the image of God. So
Yeah.
they act uh, and it's the ones that act unlovable that really are testing to see if you will love them, care about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things that that we as people nowadays we really need to work on. What you said about the metaphorical coats, like a
Hmm.
lot of these people being from the same background, coming from these broken homes, whether they're being raised by single parents, and they um they cover up their pain and they decide to take out the pain on people around them, like people that they believe hurt them or have hated them, when really they kind of hate themselves, really, but they decide to take it out on other people who they really don't know. And they really just need to have a conversation and see how they can resolve this and what can really come out of having just a little sit down conversation, and we'll see what's really what's the we'll really see the light come out from the darkness, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Be transcend.
that's a good perspective. I like to say wounded people wound others,
Yeah,
because sometimes
True.
they don't see
Facts.
the wound that they have.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah,
That's why there's a lot
yeah,
of bullies. Bullies come from their own their own backgrounds. So when the bullies are being bullied, either from family members or other bullies, they, they don't know where to take the problem, so they just take it on someone else.
yeah,
Cause and effect,
yeah.
right?
No, you guys are wise. You're picking up on that, and that's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Ever since we got out, I don't know about you, Christian, but ever since we got out of high school, it's been
I feel
we're
older. Ever since getting in high school, I feel
we
older
just
for some
see
reason.
we just see it on the third person, right? What we did in high
Yeah,
school, we're like,
yeah.
wow, we were idiots, right? It was
I was
like
like, I was like, I was really that young kid.
exactly.
And we were both just those young kids in high school, and now we're in college doing a podcast with a college professor,
Yeah, that's crazy.
talking about life,
Yeah.
sounding like wise people.
Yeah, me and Kristen actually started this podcast by just we were talking about it in a TA class, which is
Yeah.
we teacher assistant if you know what that is. But
Sure.
we were like, you know what, we should start a podcast, right? So
No,
usually,
no, no. That was my idea. Remember, that was
was
my
your
idea to
idea?
start a podcast. It was my
To be
idea.
honest, I don't remember. We were just talking about something, right? And
Yeah,
then the people around us was like, yeah, you should do it. You should do it. At first,
yeah,
I was like, I really don't stick with my plans, but I mean, episode 6, here we are, right?
yeah,
Talking about talking about human development, and everything. Have
yeah. And
multiple,
I remember meeting you back in middle school at Kirby,
yeah.
and then I'm looking at us now, and I'm like, we've really come so far
And we're
from
just starting.
middle
The
school.
crazy thing is that we're just starting. We just
Yeah,
started. That's the crazy thing about it, right? We finished one
yeah,
chapter of our lives. We're literally on probably the second or the third.
yeah.
Yeah, you are. So how did it end up that coming out of high school, you guys decided to go to college? Because that's not a popular thing for young men these days. A lot of young men are staying away from college. So, what inspired each one of you to step forward and get some more education? Because education is freedom.
Hmm.
Get
Yeah.
in your life.
I
So how did that happen?
In my household, I had two choices. That was college or the military. I have I have a couple of neighbors that were in the Navy, so I said the Navy might be a little interesting, but I had seen that FSCJ was just a little community college downtown, just a few minutes from just a few minutes downtown. I said, you know, it'd be nice to go to FSCJ, and then I could transfer over to Alabama State because I want to do forensics and become a CSI. So I could do 2 years in FSCJ and then transfer over to Alabama State because they have the largest forensics program than
Yeah.
any other college. So I said I could do 2 years of community college down here and then transfer to Alabama State through my other 2 years. And really, if you want to do college, you just need like a game. You need a game plan, a game plan with a backup plan, and you just need that determination to say that if I do college, I am gonna complete it. So that's what I told myself. I said I am gonna complete college, and that's
So
all I
who
got.
modeled college and the military to you?
My parents,
Your parents.
because
Yeah.
I have some military relatives. My uncle and auntie, they're retired. My uncle's a retired colonel. My auntie's a retired lieutenant colonel, and they're just living their lives, traveling all over the world with I don't want to say just like a lot of money, but it's basically military benefits, not a lot of money,
Right.
military benefits. So they did their years in the military and now they're just traveling the world, having fun, enjoying their lives. And I said if I do the military, I don't know if I'm able to I don't know if I'm gonna finish it.
Yeah.
But I said if I do college, I'm gonna make a promise to myself that I am gonna complete it.
That's good.
So that's why I chose college.
Cool.
That's
Awesome.
cool.
What about you,
Hmm.
Lou?
Me, like Christian said, parents heavily enforced college, right? So I also found a drive to go to college too, because I didn't want to be 100% influenced by my parents. So I said I'll do college, right? Get my computer engineering degree, and then I'll try to find a job that I love in engineering around that area. And then also I wanted to do engineering so I could travel the world and all that, right? Get enough money because they make a lot of money. And then also wanted to do YouTube, not YouTube as a content creator, but I'll do content creating on the side, and then also do editing, and then maybe one day join like not join, but probably do like a VFX, join a VFX team, probably produce one of the movies that you guys see, the MCs, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Do that kind of thing. But I mainly just want to travel a lot, right? Try to
yeah.
get as much experience as I can. Try to see the world. Try to meet a lot of people. And I
Yeah.
just want to be a wholehearted person before I go.
Cool.
So
That's good. Education will really give you free. VFX team.
VFX, VFX animation team around that
Oh,
area. We'll see. But
all
yeah,
right.
we'll see. Yeah.
And what school would you go to for engineering
UCF.
after
UCF.
UCF?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good school. I actually graduated from UCF.
You did? Okay.
Oh yeah, back in the day when it had 5 buildings,
Hmm.
and it was called Florida Technological University then. But it went through a transition connecting with Disney and some other production
Yeah.
companies. So that's a good choice for you. Just like Alabama State, it has such a good forensics program too. So you guys are making some good decisions.
Hmm. Yeah.
Thank your parents for pushing it
Yeah.
when you
Of
get a
course.
chance.
Of
Yes,
course.
yes, sir.
Growing up, I really didn't understand, what they were saying. But as I went through the lessons, a lot of hard choices had to come through, and then now I'm here. Well, I'm not here. I'm just starting out, like I said. But now that I'm here, I'm understanding the more of what they
Yeah.
went through and how they had to go through it for me to get here. I was talking to my dad about pay prices for the tuitions and UCF, and he was like, "You don't have to worry about the prices if you stick in studying, if you study a lot and do what you want to do, like not just how people say, if I want to do this, I'll do it,
Hmm.
but actually focus on my studies and all that, then I don't need to worry about the money. It'll just come rolling in." So
Yeah,
yeah,
the community college route or the state college route, as it is now, is a really smart thing to do because it's so much cheaper for those first 2 years. I mean,
yeah,
that's what I did. I did that. One of my daughters did that. My son actually went to Brevard State College, no, Daytona State College in photography. Then he became a respiratory therapist, and he was also a firefighter. So taking advantage of that, the first 2 years is so much cheaper. You're really smart to do that. Then you can go off. One of my girls went to Florida State, and the other one went to the University of Florida. But it was more affordable,
yeah,
going to community college first. One of them didn't go at all because she was in the international baccalaureate program, but the other one did, and my son did as well. So it's a good way to go. Smart,
yeah.
because
It
it
really
is
is.
expensive.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if you have your head straight and know where you want to go. It really depends on motivation and what was the word I always use? Um, Not willpower, but mindset.
Commitment.
Mindset. Your mindset, it shows who you are as a person, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
If you're thinking big and you're willing to do big things, then you'll get there. It'll probably take a really long time, right? There has to be time in between what you're doing and where you want to get to. So if you're willing to stick through all that time and all that effort and all that pain, then in the end it'll first of all you'll have a lot of motivation, right? Because the thing that you're thinking of is big, so you want to get there, and then plus once you get there, all that effort you put in, it'll be worth it for you, of course, definitely. But also
absolutely.
push more. Once you get there, also try to do more bigger things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Is this a visual podcast on YouTube or is it just auditory?
Do you want to? Do you want to? What do you want to do?
Well, I
You
was
can,
going to share a screen with you.
yeah, you can share a screen.
Okay, I'm going to do a little drawing if I can on my whiteboard, but
Okay. That's why.
so one thing that I like to use in the environments that I'm teaching in is this little model, um, and I use a triangle. Well, it's not working for me now. Shoot, I just wanted to draw without all that. I've got a touch screen. It's not working. Okay, shoot. Uh, let's try that.
Yeah, that's why I recorded the audio of the podcast so I can go in there and then edit out the things I need to edit out.
Okay, here we go. You see me use this triangle, but I use
Yep.
3 words: up, in, and out. You've talked about mindset and having a plan and all that.
Hmm.
So what's important if this triangle represents you, what's important for you is that you have something that speaks into your mindset, whatever that is, whether it's your faith, whether it's a philosophy of life, whether it's something that your parents have taught you, but that informs who you are and helps to shape you. That's the end part of the triangle. But the point of all this is the outward expression as you engage with other people and humans. The up develops you, and then as you are developed, then the whole idea of the flow of your life
Hmm.
should be out towards others, inspiring them then to be learning and growing and being motivated so that the cycle continues all the way around. I mean, that's a pretty complete way of um, of looking at life. And whatever it is that is your up, whatever informs you and shapes you, always realize that it happens to you so that you then can be outward focused either through service or just having healthy relationships with other people. Or don't just be selfish and take you guys seem to have come from really good environments in your home, motivating environments, and so you have a responsibility to share that forward with other people, just like you're doing in the podcast. Or you guys might become dad someday, so investing the same way in your own kids so that it becomes a generational thing of positive growth and moving forward. And you can really change a lot if you choose to live that way, always with that outward focus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's yeah. When you have children, you want to see them with everything, right? You don't want to see them with less. But you also have to teach them discipline, which is the hardest part because you don't want to teach them like something that will hurt them in the future, right? But you also want to teach them something that won't hurt them, if that makes sense. So in the future, you want
Sure.
them to have experience now, and then in the future, they'll already be learned that, right? And it's just learn, and so you're as a parent, you're also learning, right? Because
Yep.
you just made a human, another human. So now you have to all you did, all the work you did, you have to put it over to your child. And
And the
yeah,
two of you that made that human have to talk to each other and say, no, this is how we want to raise. This is our philosophy of how we're going to raise this child.
yeah,
You have to come to agreement. So it takes a lot of maturity to do that. And sometimes people have babies that aren't mature, that don't
mm,
think like that don't make decisions like that. So um, being careful and being purposeful and intentional about life is wise. So it sounds like you guys are on a pretty good road.
hopefully, hopefully we'll see.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, um, nowadays, like as you guys probably seen, but most of the time parents are busy a lot, like hella busy, and they stick their children in front of, you know, electronics, tablets, TVs, and all that. And I have an auntie. I think Christian, you know my auntie. I don't know if you do, but she
Yeah, I think
has.
I met her.
Yeah, I think you met her. She has a lot of children, and both the
Yep,
parents are.
yep.
Yeah, yeah, both the
I've met her.
parents are really busy. So, to calm them down, to let them have comfort, they'll give them electronics to calm them down. And I've always just sat there and seen them. It's really, I don't know why it affects me, but I just look and be like, wow, like that's
Think about, like, we didn't really have that growing up. Like,
we. I mean,
y'all didn't really do us that way.
yeah, but we got lucky though. Think about it. We had to have fun by going outside, right?
Yeah, we had
Playing
to
with
go
neighbors
outside.
and all that.
Hmm.
And then this new generation is greeted with electronics and just a lot of distractions. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, a lot of distractions, right?
Yeah.
So me personally, when I have a child myself, then I won't really put them in front of a electronic so early, maybe even later, right? I'll try to have a lot of experiences with them at a very young age, all the way up until they can manage for themselves. And there's a difference also. Like most parents don't know when to be chill. They don't know when to. They don't have boundaries. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. I think it's mostly with foreign parents and with foreign kids. Because mostly when I was younger, right, back in Ethiopia, that's where I was born. I would watch TV shows, movies, and all that. I'm like, wow, American kids have it all, right? They have all these, all this distraction. At that moment I didn't think as a distraction. I thought of it as you just have an abundance of things, right? But then once I came over to America, um, I started to experience all these things, and then as I started to grow up, I more and more want to go back to Ethiopia and just continue my career there because here it's a lot of mess of things if you don't know who you are, right?
Right.
If you don't um,
If you don't find who you are or what your place in this or what your place is
yeah,
in this world exactly, you could be lost, and then
and you
you
don't have
don't really
control of yourself.
yeah, and then
Exactly, and
you
then
don't really know where to go really.
exactly,
Is
exactly.
there a lot of pressure on you to be American, in terms of culture, um,
Not really, no.
from your peer group? Not really.
Peer group, no, not really, not really.
Yeah.
It's it's crazy because when I first came here, I was the only Ethiopian, right? And then as I started growing up, there was started to be more of my group coming in, and then Paxton, that's the high school we went to, started to be a lot more Ethiopians, and then I didn't really connect with them because they had their own group, which is actually crazy because we're the same religion, we're the same ethnicity, but they had their own group at the time, and I was more of they were more African American, and then I was more of an African.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to like I'm trying to set this up. Like, I don't want to say something that you know it's scary sometimes.
So Ethiopians historically have had a very orthodox religious faith.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how it is in contemporary times, but some of the earliest church events were established, and some people believe that their Christian faith is more more authentic than some other forms because they've maintained that all the way through. What have you
Hmm.
observed there?
Yeah, both my parents are very religious people. Well, my mom, I don't want to say something I don't want. Like, she might watch this and then get on me for it. But my mom, over the time, she's strayed further away from religion. But she's still a religious person. If that makes sense to you guys. And when I grew up, she just, she taught me what she knew. And when I was still back in Ethiopia, when I was young, she took me to places. There's a lot of places to go in Ethiopia for religious purposes. There's big churches there.
Yeah.
There's just one thing that I forgot the name of, but there's like this big carving, I think of a cross or something, which is it's national. If you guys search it up, I think you'll find it. But I'm happy. I'm happy from where I came up, my roots, and it's really interesting because my parents they're really shut off on other religions, and they're not really open minded. But for me, I don't know where I got it from or which side of the family I got it from, but I'm more open to other religions, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I think it's interesting to see other views and other perspectives of other people.
Yeah.
And
And as I've said to you guys in class and just in conversation, that you're able to be open like that because you do have a foundation that
mm-hmm,
was established for you. So you have a perspective of thinking about religion, faith, God, morality, ethics, whatever. You have a foundation. So from that foundation, you can go off and explore and discuss and have a more open view um, about other ideas and perspectives.
yeah,
It's a
Yeah.
good way to be.
Yeah. And like you said, yeah, we're pretty lucky about that. And most people don't know how lucky they are and where they are, right? Because if you put your problems and gave it to someone else that doesn't have anything, then they'll be like, I want to switch lives. Let's do it. And then you'll start seeing what you had. And
Absolutely. It's cool.
it is. It is. What other topics do you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to hear what Christian thinks about all that.
Yeah,
I can
Christian.
see the wheels spinning in his head.
I'm thinking I'm not a real religious person. Like, oh, you should believe in this or you should believe in that. I'm more like, you do you do whatever you're satisfied with. Cause
Okay.
we're not my religion's not your religion. Your religion's not my religion. I'm just saying. And
Okay.
I'm not talking about you and me, Lou. I'm just thinking of a scenario like your religion's not my religion or my religion's not your religion. Like, hey, we can be we're friends. We may be equals, but
Mm-hmm.
we are still like we are still people. We're still human beings with thoughts and feelings. Like
Yeah.
Right.
just because we're different religions doesn't mean we can't just be people. Like, oh, so you're a different religion than me. I don't want to be your friend. Like
Exactly. Like
we
I
can
said.
we can we're all still human beings with thoughts and feelings. Like there are times, like our parents do say, there are times where the religion talk can come into play. Like there's a time and a place for everything, and there are some times where you just put religion out the window. You just have fun with your friends, and then there may be other times where it's like, oh, now we can debate about religion and all that stuff. But there's just a time and place for everything, depending depending on sort of like how you were raised. Like if you're just blurting, some people you just blurt out stuff, and then you'll start blurting out stuff that you didn't mean to say, and then so on and so forth. The arguing just keeps going, and
Yeah. Like I
yeah,
said,
Sure.
religion really divides people, and that's why it really shouldn't be, taken too seriously to other, like, in a group sense. But if you have your own religion and beliefs, stand your ground and just keep it to yourself, right? And if someone else is trying to convince you or talk about it, you don't have to be rude about it, right? You just tell them that's interesting, listen, right?
yeah,
But you can still stand your ground.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Everybody always says don't talk about politics and religion and stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't think religion divides us. I think the inability to have a healthy conversation is what divides us.
Yeah.
Because we can learn from there. For me personally, just shifting a little bit to culture. When I was at UNF, I participated in this thing called Community Learning Exchange. Dr. Jansen at UNF led it. It was held mostly in African American churches in the area, and his was to bring kind of reconciliation between different ethnic groups, and it was primarily a conversation between white folks and black folks. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
African Americans and Caucasians, whatever descriptive terminology you want. But I know for me, when I would go into some of these small churches and sometimes larger churches, and I would just go as a participant, and we would have group discussions, and then we'd get in a big circle afterwards, and that's where I developed the idea that we learn in the circle, because as everybody discussed in small groups and in the big group, there might be 75 people sitting in a circle, and people were sharing their experience and their lives and what was going on. I just learned a lot from listening, you know, and not saying much is kind of unusual for me, but just listening.
Yeah.
Uh, and I felt that, that was really, really, really. Some people would sing. I mean, just different. I think it's so enriching to have people who have different viewpoints, different perspectives. The diversity is very powerful.
Yeah.
Sometimes we eat together and we experience each other's foods, and there's nothing better than Southern cooking. I mean, I can say that without without holding back in any way. I haven't had a whole lot of Ethiopian food. What happened? Did the light come on all of a sudden?
Um,
Someone enter the room.
my sister, my sister just turned on the light
Tell her we're
for,
having a
Well,
for some
podcast.
reason. Mm,
Yeah, tell
that's
her we're
good
having a
that she did
podcast.
that because now I can see what you look like. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
But yeah, you're talking about Ethiopian food?
I don't think I've had any Ethiopian food.
You should. It's
I,
on the vegan side of things. There's
is
meat.
it is it is it spicy or is it how do they flavor?
There's spicy foods in there. Yeah, I think a lot of them are spicy. If you're
Yeah,
used to spices, then I don't think a lot of them would be spicy, but
but hot spicy or just flavor spicy?
both. No, I'll leave
Both.
you. I'll leave you at that. I'll leave you at that. You have to experience it for yourself. But it's both. It's a variety of foods. Like I said, it's based on the vegan side, but there's still meat. There's a lot of vegetables in there too. It's it's good. I mean, I grew up when I was younger. I hated it because coming into America, I wanted to eat McDonald's. I wanted to eat Burger King. I wanted to eat all that, right? And then once I got a taste, I couldn't stop. As I got older, my taste buds started to to
Change.
yeah, not change, started to adapt to the foods, right? So I started liking more of my country's food. My mom, she kept cooking and cooking, and she was happy that I started to like it back. It's weird.
Well, when the semester's over, maybe we can have a meal with each other sometime, and I can
I got you.
experience some of that. Although I don't handle spicy too well these days, but
You
I'm
don't?
sure I can handle it.
Oof. I'll try.
Don't go for the hot stuff. But the vegetables are good. We're eating more and more. That's a good way to eat.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. There's a lot of dishes that are based on not spicy, but flavor. A lot of food on
Yes.
flavor,
Yeah.
and it's a weird type of. It's not, I don't think it's like a flavor you've tasted before, unless you really taste a lot of foreign food. But once you go Ethiopian, you'll have a
You
different
never go
explosion.
back, right?
You'll have a different type of experience. Trust me.
Oh, that's cool. Sounds like fun.
Yeah. Is that it? You guys want to share anything else?
I'm getting hungry. I got to eat supper here in a minute.
All right. Well, thank you guys
What?
for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Shore. I said doctor. Sorry, I'm thinking of another professor. Professor Shore for joining us. Christian, thank you for joining us. Do you guys want to leave off with wise wisdom, wise words, a quote?
Yeah, I'll leave off with this one. No other human is capable of making another human totally happy.
Happy
So enrich your life with others.
and enrich your life with others, and also self-love too. That's where
Yeah.
it's at. All right. Thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate it. You guys like the video or like the podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Take care.
All right.
Good to have a conversation with you guys. You're
All right.
awesome.
Thank you.